I have Mark Weisleder here. He's a lawyer, real estate lawyer, and he was just speaking on a topic that it's of interest to a lot of real estate investors and foreign buyers. And that's about the 15% foreign buyers tax. So Mark's going to tell us a couple of need-to-know important items in there, and perhaps ways that may allow you to be exempt from that 15%. Mark, can you please tell us where does that 15% tax apply, and who does it apply to, and what maybe some individuals may not have to pay that, and how they go about it?
Okay, so if you're buying a property in the Golden Horseshoe, it's residential, 1 to 6 units, then if you are not a Canadian citizen or permanent resident, you have to pay an additional 15% tax on closing. So this would not apply to vacant land, commercial property, or a residential property with 7 or more units.
So private buildings don't apply then?
That's right. So, but as long as there is a residential units 1 to 6, then you have to pay the 15% tax.
Now, you had mentioned that if somebody becomes a permanent resident within a certain period of time, then they could get that refunded to them?
All right, so an additional point is this. Let's say you have to pay the 15% tax. If you become a permanent resident within 4 years of the deal closing, you can get a refund or rebate of the 15% tax. So a couple of examples though. Let's say you have a Canadian citizen who is going to buy 99% of a property, a condominium, and 1% is going to be owned by somebody who's not a Canadian citizen. Unfortunately, the entire 15% tax has to be paid at the time of registration. And when I say Canadian citizen, you don't have to live in Canada. So let's say you're a Canadian citizen, but you live in the United States, Europe, or Asia, you will not have to pay the 15% tax. It's dependent on, are you a Canadian citizen? Another exemption is this. Let's say you have a Canadian citizen who's buying a property with their spouse who is not a Canadian citizen but will also go on title. In that case, no 15% tax has to be paid as long as the non-Canadian citizen will be living in the property with their spouse after closing.
That's good to know, because there's been a lot of misperception out there in terms of what that 15% means, and there's been a lot of people discouraged to invest in Canadian in Ontario real estate because of that. So it's good to know that there's some consideration. What else would should somebody know that's perhaps not out there?
Well, also you must know this 15% is payable on closing. So you have to have that money available with your lawyer on closing to do this deal. And if you have any questions about this, you can email me at mark@realestatelawyers.ca, or you can call me toll free at 1-888-876-5529, and I'll be happy to answer any of your questions.
Wonderful, Mark. Thank you. There was one other thought that I had in terms of the changes that have come around with this 15% buyer's tax. And I don't recall what that question is now, but perhaps the next time we chat, I'll have that question for you. But thank you. I greatly appreciate it. I know you're a busy man, and Mark is always out there. He's at every conference I've been to, every summit, every Realtor Quest, and he's actually been into our firm several times chatting. He's quite a resource and at the edge of what changes, and there's a lot of changes that have been having in the real estate market. So Mark, thank you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.